So here we are, the first part of October in the year 2014, and I just recent months had kind of a strange feeling. About years ago, I did a solo cross-country flight that had to be for a commercial flying license. I was between my junior and senior in high school. It was in June 14th. I took off from Silver Lake Airport, flew to Rochester, landed there, almost got in trouble because they gave me a green light to land. I didn't have a radio in the plane, and like I say, they gave me a green light to land, and I was out too far in the pattern apparently, and then as I came into the closer part of the pattern, a little too lengthy a time, then they were giving me a red light from the tower, which means to don't land. And I was almost on the ground. I touched down, and I could stop before I got to the cross runway, which as I stopped on the before the cross runway, twin engine plane landing crossways of me. So I shouldn't have been landing, but I did, and it was safe, and I got my book signed, and I flew on to Owatonna Airport. Got to Owatonna Airport, went on to New Ulm Airport, where I had taken lessons for flying and had the instructor sign my book, and then I flew on back to Silver Lake Airport, of course, and I was headed back, and it was a clear day in the morning when I left. It was a terrific day, but by mid-afternoon, late afternoon, actually maybe around 4:30, 5 o'clock, between Winthrop and Brownton, Minnesota, I hit a weather front and started tossing the plane around something fierce. So I turned about and headed back toward New Ulm, and this weather was moving quite rapidly, figuring it's coming in from the northwest, that it's going to get to New Ulm Airport maybe as I could see the weather front coming in. I'd probably best get on the ground as quick as I could, so I landed just east of Lafayette, Minnesota, east of Highway 15, which would be in the Bernadotte area. And this is now in 1956. That's many years ago. Well, I landed, tied the plane down, the weather went through, untied the plane, took off, and
So where did you land? Was it an airstrip? What
no,
did you land in?
this was a cow pasture out behind, just out behind somebody's barn. It was a big enough pasture that I could land and safely take off. So I got in and out of there, but yeah, it was no runway of sorts. It was out in somebody's field. Anyhow, years later now, this is recently, because for years in 1950s, 60s, into the 1970s, Boon and Erickson would, every once in a while, they'd get on a rampage, early morning show on WCCO Radio about the Bernadotte International Airport. And there would be people going out from Minneapolis to see the Bernadotte International Airport and never finding it, stopping and asking, where is the Bernadotte International Airport? And I'm just now here sitting thinking all these years later, maybe was I the only one to ever land and take off at the Bernadotte International Airport? It's a possibility, and I don't know who to go, where to go to ask of whom to could it possibly be? I don't know if Erickson is still around.
So what makes you think that you might have been the one?
Well, it was that period of time because Erickson came from that area. Yeah, the Boon and Erickson show. Erickson was a Scandinavian, and he grew up in the Winthrop, Lafayette area, and so very likely his farm could have been right down in that area. Or
So it could have been his parents' farm or his neighbor's farm
yeah,
that you were actually landing on.
right, yeah, and I am just a curious person and getting to thinking about why did he make such an issue of the Bernadotte International Airport being something very large, but quite obviously reverse. It was very, very simple, one landing, one plane, one takeoff, possibly.
What do you know about Bernadotte, Minnesota?
Well, right now, today, it's not on the map. It's used to be a creamery, a couple houses, and I think maybe a general store at one time, and that's gone. Most of that's just a couple little buildings now, mostly vacant, so it doesn't amount to anything. It's just,
It's mostly just a tiny little hub surrounded by farms.
yeah, right. So, and it's right east of Lafayette, Minnesota, where approximately where I landed, which I have no exact, other than the fact I was in that area, east of 15 in the Lafayette area, because I turned back from Winthrop and I was not too far south when I landed. So, yeah.